in the comments section, and I'll answer it at the end of the class. I also have some questions for you to practice what we've learned in the class, and you can write your answers in the comments section as well. Before we get started, let's look at some fun facts about food. Did you know that McDonald's sells 75 hamburgers per second? Also, pasta was voted one of the most popular dishes, which is not surprising. Chocolate was once used as a currency, which means it was a form of money. People paid for things with chocolate. And finally, popcorn was invented by the Aztec Indians. Did you already know any of these fun facts? All right, let's get started. First, we're going to look at some kitchen tools, then we'll look at some cooking verbs, and then I'll take you through a recipe. Okay, so first let's start with kitchen tools. So we have our most basic kitchen tools, a pan and a pot. Okay, next we have our kitchen utensils, what we use to eat our food, a fork and a knife. Or you might use a spoon or chopsticks, depending on what kind of food you're eating. Okay. A spatula is what we use to flip something over, like eggs or a pancake, or to cut a slice of cake, for example. And a rolling pin is what we use for baking, to roll out the dough, as you can see in the picture. This is called a rolling pin. Okay, we use a cutting board to cut things like bread or to chop vegetables, and a strainer to drain the liquid from something. Okay, we use a timer if we need to count how much time something is going to cook, like an egg, for example. And we use a scale if we need to measure, if we need to know how much something weighs in a recipe. Okay, we can also measure something using a measuring cup or a measuring spoon. Okay, then we have tablespoon and teaspoon. Tablespoon is bigger. We normally use these to measure things like spices, salt, sugar, etc. Okay, now that we've looked at some basic kitchen tools, let's move on to cooking verbs. Okay, so first cooking verb is to chop. This means to cut something with a knife. For example, some vegetables. You chop them with a knife. Okay? To slice is what we do with something like bread, which is to cut it into thin pieces. Okay? And normally to slice we use a knife like this, a bread knife. Okay? To cut is similar to chop. To cut something with a knife. To dice means to cut into small pieces. As you can see here, the onion and the carrot is diced. It's cut into small pieces for cooking. Okay, to whisk is to, we use a whisk, this tool here, for things like sauces, for eggs, or for cream, for example. Okay, and to grate is this tool here with holes in it. So we normally use a grater for cheese or vegetables when you want to cut it into very, very thin slices. Okay. To melt is to heat something until it is liquid. For example, this chocolate is melted over the cream. And to peel is to take off the outer layer, the skin of a vegetable. For example, a potato or a carrot, we use this peeler to remove the skin. Okay? To simmer is to cook something in boiling water, very, very hot water. To stir, we use a spoon to move something around in a pot or a pan, for example. Okay, to bake is to cook something in the oven like cookies, for example, and to grill is what we do with our barbecue. Okay, so you can see here we have some vegetables and meat, burgers and sausages on the grill. Okay, to boil is to heat water until it bubbles, until it becomes very hot. And here, to fry is to cook something like potatoes, French fries, in boiling oil, in very hot oil. Okay, to roast is to cook something in the oven like vegetables, for example, and to saute, you cook vegetables, but in a pan, in oil, is to saute them. Okay, so now that we've looked at all of this vocabulary, kitchen tools, and cooking verbs, I'm going to take you through a very simple recipe. So first, let's look at our ingredients. Today, we're going to talk about penne pasta with tomato sauce, okay? Very simple recipe. Let's look at our ingredients. So what do we need to make this? We need olive oil, 1 onion, 1 garlic clove, 1 can of tomato sauce, penne pasta, or it can be another kind of pasta, oregano, the spice, and Parmesan cheese. Okay, so once we have our ingredients, let's look at the instructions for our recipe. Okay, number 1, you chop the onion and the garlic, then you heat olive oil in a pan, okay? Then you fry the onion and the garlic in the pan. On the other side, you boil a pot of water, cook pasta, the penne pasta or another kind of pasta, in the water, in the boiling water for 10 minutes or so. Drain the water and then add the tomato sauce, onion, garlic, and oregano to the pasta. Stir, and then with your grater, grate Parmesan cheese on the top. And the final step of any recipe, of course, is to enjoy your meal. Okay, so now I have 3 questions for you to practice what we've just learned. I want you to write your answers in the comment section. Question number 1. What is your favorite recipe? We've just looked at a recipe for pasta. What do you like to cook the most? What is your favorite recipe? Number 2. Who taught you how to cook? Was it one of your parents, a grandparent, or did you learn by yourself? Tell me who taught you to cook. And final question. Tell us a cooking disaster story. So, did you ever try to cook something and it didn't turn out